Right, we are ready for the start. A sprint race, 20 minutes for the pre-1966 Grand Prix Cars. Sam Wilson in car number 18 on the left as you look at it there. Will Nuttall on the right in the Cooper. The second row, we've got Rudiger Friedrichs. We are missing Andrew Haddon, sadly, because he's still struggling with the car to get it started. We're getting all set for the race to get underway, and it's going to be Sam Wilson who launches from pole position to try and take the initial lead up towards Abbey Corner, and he's got a good run going here, but it's also a very good start from the number 12 car, Rudiger Friedrichs. He is on the attack. Sam is trying to protect, but Rudiger, I think, has gone round. That's an impressive start indeed from him, and Sam Wilson will try and come back now as we get into the tighter, more twisty section. Clean behind, everyone's gone through Abbey Corner safely, through Farm and into Village, and I gather that Andrew Haddon has just left the pits, so they have fired up that Scarab despite the problems they had. He will be right down at the back of the field, but it's a relatively quick car, so could be making up some ground throughout the course of this race. Exciting start for the number 12 car of Rudiger Friedrichs.
Really excellent start from Rudy there as he comes down into Brooklands, and it looks like Sam Wilson might have slipped up the inside to take the lead back as we look at the long shot down the Wellington Straight, and yeah, Sam Wilson has taken the lead. Rudy Friedrichs down into second place, but coming around the outside is Will Nuttall in the similar Cooper, and he's looking for the wide wet line, as we've been calling it, out onto the section towards Woodcote, and they're really sliding around, aren't they? The back end's twitching, and Will Nuttall couldn't get through, so he's still in third place. So the order across the old start, this is where we used to start Grand Prix from, and it's Sam Wilson from Rudy Friedrichs from Will Nuttall.
Yeah, great battle between the top three. They are putting away from everyone else so far, and we'll see how the others get on. Just a relatively short race, this one. 18 minutes to go in what is a 20-minute sprint race in total, and the top two are just beginning to pull away very slightly. Wonderful cars these, pre-66, which means it's before the 3-litre era. So we're looking at 1.5 and 2.5 litre engined cars. It's also pre-aerodynamic era, so no wings front and rear. It's all about road holding, getting the best out of the tyres. Mid-engine cars at this time, of course, were mostly successful, but we have got quite a few front-engine cars in this field as well, and as we've seen, some of them can be pretty competitive, particularly in the wetter conditions. But it is the Lotus 18 of Sam Wilson that is in front of the Cooper of Rudy Friedrichs, holding on well in second place. Big wide line from Will Nuttall in third position as he tries to make up the most of that on this lap. But let's see how Sam gets on here, because he put together a very good pole lap yesterday, and he's already beginning to open up the gap just a little bit more over Rudy in second place and Will Nuttall in third. And this will give us an idea of the lap times and the gaps between them. Wilson certainly quicker than the other two. He had gained about a second on that lap compared to his opposition. And we're also going to try and keep an eye on Andrew Haddon in that Scarab that ended up starting from the pit lane. Not quite spot where he is yet, but we'll keep an eye on that and see if he's able to make up some ground.
Good shot there of Geraint Owen's Curtis, which is an Indy car, a car that raced in the Indianapolis 500 in period, which was part of the World Championship for some years, but never really took off in terms of Grand Prix drivers going over to Indianapolis to compete. But that car, Geraint's brought over here to race in the historic Grand Prix Cars Association races. We now see car number 53, which is Justin Mayer's Cooper T53, but back with the leaders again. Even on the straights and under braking, the drivers twitching as they go deal with these really difficult conditions. And it's Sam Wilson who leads in John Chisholm's car. It's actually owned by John Chisholm. Sam driving it this weekend for him. Here's the rest of the cars streaming down. What a great sight that is. In the background there, there's the Curtis again. Geraint Owen, huge car. Big sprint engine car. We also saw a quick shot of the Maserati 250F as well, which I'm sure is probably one of Ben's favourite cars along the line.
Yeah, it is a wonderful car and has so much great history. By the way, Haddon is running down in 31st position at the moment, and he's going quite quickly. So I think we will see him make a bit of progress as a little bit of change in that area. You put with such a big contrast, the tight mid-engine car versus this big front-engine Curtis that Geraint Owen is hauling around. But it is wonderful to see. Oh, we've got a little bit of a spin there for the number 92 car. That's Stephen Jobstle, the Lotus 24. That's a slightly tricky position. If he can't get that running, this could well lead to safety car. It will be yellow flags up there at the moment. There's our race leader, who is beginning to ease away just a little bit. This Lotus 18, the number 18 car, is an ex-John Surtees car, finished second at the British Grand Prix in 1960, so it's a good heritage to it, and it's leading well at the moment too, isn't it? As Wilson opens up a gap, nearly 2 seconds over Friedrichs and Nuttall. Mayers in 4th place, and the rest of them just a little bit further back. There is a bit of a gap from the top 3 back to our next group, but these 3 are holding each other together for now. Fun to see.
Great battle for second place here. Still Rudy Friedrichs just ahead of Will Nuttall, but there's the leader coming across the line, sliding under power, just going up the straight there. Very slippy. But the second place, third place Will Nuttall, just pulling out of the spray there, just to keep his visor clean as he comes up towards Abbey and goes through the fast right into the left-hander. Perhaps building up here for a challenge into Village onto Rudy Friedrichs. He's closing up. Is he going to be a bit later on the brakes? Yes, he's going to go for the wide line and then cut back and try and get alongside, but just can't get the traction. The car just moving around as he tries to feed in the power, but Friedrichs goes wide, Nuttall goes tight through the loop. They're side by side on the run to Aintree. Still don't know which way this one's going to go, but in fact it goes to Rudy Friedrichs as he takes the line through Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. But Will Nuttall will have another go, going down into Brooklands, I'm sure, as they come down towards the left-hander. Nuttall's got the inside line, that's the favoured position if the track's not too wet, but actually he can't do it.
That was a big deep line from Nuttall. I know he's going for those quite wide lines, and he cuts back again, as you said. He's using that as a bit of an experiment. But of course, you take the wide line, you've got further to go than the tight line. But it's interesting watching this variety, and it might work here. Yeah, he's swept round the outside. It really did work. So Will Nuttall has now taken second position, and Friedrichs dropped back down to third. I also noticed that on that graphics board on the left of your screens, if you're looking at the screens around the Silverstone circuit or watching online, Andrew Haddon's got himself into 20th place now in that Scarab that started with problems. There it is, number 30. So they've cured the leak. Like, oh, he's locking up, gets it round just about. You can see he's trying pretty hard.
He was willing the car, wasn't he? He goes into the right-hander at Luffield, and so already got that car into the top 20, and sliding the back end that front-engined car, the car that was built. It was very competitive, but just too late, really. It was came on the scene at the time when the rear-engine cars had already started to take over, and the leading car we're seeing now of Sam Wilson turning into Stowe Corner, and second place now, new second place for Will Nuttall, having got past Rudy Friedrichs with that great outside move at Luffield.
The pace that Haddon was doing is very similar to the leaders, actually. He did a 2:48, so it's a similar sort of pace to the top 3, whereas everybody else is a few seconds away from that. So he's pretty sort of demonstrating what he did in qualifying, which is being pretty much third, fourth fastest. It's just that problem they had in the assembly area means he's coming from such a long way back. Just looking there at another beautiful car, number 3, the Barry Cannell Brabham BT11, but also just up ahead of him, we've got a battle for 5th place going on here, and it's another entertaining one. The number 34 car, John Spears, the Maserati 250F, gorgeous Maserati, the ex-Jean Berra car, that particular one. John Spears has won at Brands Hatcheries not too long ago in this Maserati 250F. A period of the 1950s that the 250F was such a successful car, and some of the all-time greats, Sterling Moss, Manuel Fangio, drove the Maserati 250F and had tremendous results in it.
Well, Fangio was well known for picking a team that was likely to win the World Championship. He did so 5 times, of course, but he picked the 250F for his final year of racing, 1957, and he won his final race at the Nürburgring, the the German Grand Prix in a Maserati 250F.
One of his greatest drives.
Well, absolutely one of his greatest drives. I think he set a fastest lap for the final 12 laps of the race or something like that, and it's a 14-mile lap, and took the win.
Oh.
Sterling Moss also chose this car to prove his worth to the Grand Prix teams by his father Alfred bought one for Sterling to drive in Grand Prix, a private entry, to show how good he was, and then he got picked up eventually by the Mercedes team, and he drove alongside Fangio. Never won the World Championship, but
won the British Grand Prix in a Mercedes.
Yeah. Often described as the greatest driver never to win the World Championship, but that rather ignores all his other successes, which were tremendous.
British Grand Prix back at Aintree in those days, and of course it's nice that we have a corner named after the Aintree circuit here at Silverstone.
Yes.
Larry Camel in a very different car, Alistair, when we're looking at this sort of types of car. You couldn't really be much more different, could you? And it's much later in this era, this pre-66 era, but it's a very pretty Brabham.
It is. The Brabhams were lovely cars, weren't they? Built by Jack Brabham and Ron Taranach, and that's why they have the number BT, Brabham Taranach, and they are very, very pretty cars in the almost like a toothpaste tube that the driver sits in, very low. You see the wheels are much higher than the bodywork, whereas some cars they seem to sit much more upright, even in the rear engine cars.
Yeah, but particularly the Maserati, complete contrast.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the Maserati, actually, funnily enough, it looks so high when you've got the mid-engine cars, but of its period, it was actually relatively low, wasn't it? Because they set up the drivetrain quite cleverly to make sure that it wasn't too high. But a car stopped. I'm afraid I can't identify which one it is at the moment. Oh, number 29 is stopped. That looks like a different one.
That's Jim Clark's car, isn't it? The R5.
Right.
That's being pushed out by the marshals. Not so heavy, these cars, as some of the others we saw, so they're managing to get that out. And that's, I think that's Nick Fennell, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's see what happens. I think we've got a replay. A little bit of a one way than the other, and just spun him into the gravel trap. Some other cars around. I think that was part of the reason. But he's got it going, which is good news. He's not the seatbelt that's flapping around.
Yes.
It might be. He may have to come back into the pits to refit that. By the way, Haddon moving up well. He's up into 8th place now in the number 30 Scarab. Remember, that was the car that was struggling in the assembly area with a steamy leak. But they're going well, and we watch our race leader, number 18, still with a good advantage.
I take it you weren't referring to the vegetable when you were talking about a steamy leak.
But on this occasion.
The number 18 car, which amongst others, the car we just saw spin was an ex-Jim Clark car. He actually won here at Silverstone in the British Grand Prix in that car. But that leading car is also an ex-Jim Clark car as well, as we quickly cut back to the Scarab of Andrew Haddon, making his way up, as you say, in 9th place, doing a really good job of recovering from that pit lane start.
Yeah, making for a fun event, isn't he? Let's just see if he can find his way past a few more cars. He's in the middle of a little group of mid-engine machines. So that's actually another one there. There's another front-engine car. That's Eddie McGuire in another of the Scarabs. That's actually a little bit further down. He's in 14th place. There we are. There is Andrew Haddon. So he's now chasing down car number 24. And that is Lee Mole in the Lotus, another Lotus 18 actually. So with the 2.5 litre engine. But it's Andrew Haddon in this Scarab Offenhauser that we are keeping a close eye on. That has a 2.5 litre engine, 1960 as well. The front engine cars do seem to work well in these rather more wet and slippery conditions. He's making the most of it. He's going to have a good run out of Luffield. I think he's going to be able to draw past and take another position. Yes, he is. So that brings him up into 7th place now. In fact, even further than that, isn't it? No, it is. Yeah, I think a little further up the order, but he's certainly going very, very well at this stage.
That will move him up into 8th place, and his next target will be Geraint Owen in the other front engine car that's running near the front of the field. That's the big Curtis, as we look again at Sam Wilson in the Lotus 18 coming through Club Corner to start another lap. We've got just over 6 minutes remaining in this race.
Yeah, he's built up a useful advantage. His gap, let's just see what it is to Knuckle now. 2.4 seconds it was then as they came over the line. So that's a useful advantage. Although Knuckle actually has just set fastest lap. He did a 1:21.3. Good lap, Matt. And actually it was quite a bit quicker than the race leader. So I don't know whether Will is just really finding a bit more grip now out there. I'm not not sure, but that was a very good lap by him.
Yes, he looked a lot closer when we saw him in the back of the shot there coming out of club corner. So we'll keep an eye on the gap between them. A very good lap from him as we return to our picture of that beautiful Maserati 250F. Just an absolutely classic racing car shape from the front engine era, which ended with a win in 1960, which was the last front-engined Grand Prix car win at Monza.
Yeah, and then ever since then it's been mid-engined all the way. But let's see how this continues. Andrew has been doing a good job further down. He's still in 8th place at the moment. We've got 5 minutes to go. There is the race leader, Sam Wilson, holding it all together. But on that last lap, as I mentioned, Nuttall was faster. The gap is still pretty open, I would say. And as they've gone through the first section of the track this time, Wilson was slightly faster through the first sector. They passed the number 56 car there. That's another Maserati 250F. That's the Martin Halusa. We've seen the Halusa family doing a good job so far this weekend, the Austrian family. And it's Martin this time who's out to play in his Maserati.
And that car finished in white, which is unusual for Maseratis, but that was a car run in Monaco colours for Louis Chiron in period, so it remains in white to this day as Sam Wilson makes his way round Luffield
in the classic Lotus colours of the day. Absolutely. The green with the yellow wheels.
Yeah, the wobbly web wheels they're known as.
Yeah, specifically designed, weren't they, by Lotus? Another Colin Chapman angle.
Yes, probably for likeness, knowing Colin Chapman. Down to Stoke Corner for the Sam Wilson Lotus 18 with 3 3/4 minutes to go, so probably going on to his penultimate lap with the number 1 after this one.
These days of Formula 1, the Lotus were always technically advanced, but they were still on the space range at this point. They hadn't quite got to the monochrome chassis. They were about to come along.
There were significant changes to the whole of Formula 1 through this period. We went front engine and the rear engine cars started to come in, or mid-engined as you more correctly call them. And then we had the difference in the construction of the chassis as well.
So a very, very important time. Colin Chapman was one of the key parts of bringing in new additions. Another good lap by Nuttall.
Yeah, another fastest lap on that last lap, actually. I was just about to say he's closed the gap to 1.3 seconds.
Okay.
So it's worth keeping an eye on Will Nuttall at the end of this race. And the Andrew Haddon car is going really well. He's, I think he might have passed Geraint, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got up in the 7th place, gone past that huge number 77 machine, and sweeps around the outside. I'm not sure that's actually a position gain, because I don't think that was John Spears. No, it wasn't.
No, I think that's his next target, isn't it?
Yeah, so John Spears in the Maserati is his next target, and there is a bit of a gap. They are heading up towards Abbey Corner. I'm just looking out of our window, and the Maserati is just going through the corner, and there's Andrew following. It's a gap of about 4 seconds, I would say. So there's still a bit of work to be done if he's to gain any more places.
Yes, and that's actually for the front engine lead, isn't it? The Maserati is leading the front engine cars, and then the Scarab is second and Geraint is third. As we look now at the leaders, and it's closed right up, hasn't it? Look, Will Nuttall, as we said, done the fastest lap last time around. Is he going round the outside? No, that's just the foreshortening of the camera. Sam Wilson still leads, but he's quite wide through Copse.
Yeah, he's trying a bit too hard, and that could have cost him a little bit of lap time. Sam Wilson coming under increasing pressure. I wonder why. Maybe the track is changing slightly and suiting Nuttall better than Wilson. I'm not quite sure the reasons for that, but it's a really good performance by Will. He's not giving up in the Cooper. It's Lotus versus Cooper, two of the great classic names from British motorsport in Formula 1 in the 1960s. Which of these is going to come out on top, we're not sure yet, and they're having to deal with some back markers as well, find a bit of space and get through nice and cleanly. No problems, they get past quite clearly there. Tony Didridge in the Cooper T45, an earlier car. And down towards Stowe, still the advantage in the hands of Sam Wilson. Still very tricky conditions, and Will still playing with those very wide lines. It seems to suit him very effectively, and in some places there's no doubt it's working. He's gaining time by using those very, very wide lines. They're coming up on the number 33 car. That's a Cooper Bristol. a very different type of machine. Earlier, that's a 1953 car, and you can see the difference in style and look between the early 50s and the early 60s, but boy, we've got a race on our hands. We are on to the last lap here. It is not a certainty for Sam Wilson.
Absolutely not. Over the last 3 or maybe even 4 laps, gradually Will Nuttall has closed up. You can see there on the graphic how much quicker he was per lap over the last few laps, and it's really, really close now as they come up towards the tight right at Village. Who will have the advantage through the tighter section of the circuit? Will it be the Lotus or will it be the Cooper as they come up towards the left-hander of the loop? They've got past that slower car, so they're both running in the clear as they go now out through Aintree. It's so important, this exit from this corner, as they go down onto the Wellington Straight once again. Lots of traffic ahead of them, Ben. This could well affect the result.
It could. We are into the last lap, and there's about a half a lap to go now, just over half a lap to go, as they, as you say, come amongst some traffic. Always a little bit of a challenge to make sure you get through cleanly and don't get held up. By the way, Andrew Haddon has got past Spears now, so Andrew has brought himself from a late start from the assembly area. He's now got himself up to 6th place, but we really have still got a race on our hands up front. Sam Wilson only just fending off Will Nuttall, both of them getting through the traffic, and if anything, Will gained out of that a little bit in the number 10 car, so the gap is minimal between the two of them. Down towards Cops Corner they come. We did see Sam run a little bit wide last time. He's got to try and keep it under control as Will adds some more pressure. Looks very controlled. Look at the car control, the little flick of oversteer, corrected beautifully. The car remains pointing forwards, and these two are really pushing the cars to the limit. Now they're catching some cars in a tricky area.
Very tricky, and Sam Wilson manages to force the issue through on the inside of the first part of Beckett's and again on the second part, and that was really important that he did that, because he's got through that traffic before the Hangar Straight, and as they come out through Chapel Curve down onto the Hangar Straight, this is really the last couple of overtaking opportunities. We've got a car stopped on the Hamilton Straight, but it's pulled well off to the side, so I think that will be held under a yellow flag, so we won't have any issues up to the end of this race as they come into Stowe Corner.
And it looks good for Sam Wilson. Will Nuttall doing his usual trick of going wide into Stowe Corner. High, wide and handsome, as the great Brian Jones would have said. Much missed man, a man who used to commentate at Brands Hatch. But it is Sam Wilson, I think, who is going to hold on. He's just got to get the Exeter Club. It's going to be very close across the line, because it's going to be tight, but it is just going to be Sam Wilson. Will Nuttall had a fantastic exit there out of Club Corner, and he very nearly got the win, but in the end Sam Wilson did just enough to hold on. What a great performance by these two in these wonderful 1960s Formula One cars.
That was the nervous last few laps, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought on the first few laps, I thought, I've got this one. I'm pulling away, and then the Cooper kept getting bigger in the mirrors. Will's just so good in these conditions, and yeah, I thought the penultimate lap was the last lap. And I thought, well, here we go, the flag's here, and then I thought, Christ, another lap. But no, I just managed to hang it together. I don't know how, but we did.
It's a fantastic drive. Will, let's come to you. You seem to suddenly find a bit more pace a few laps from the end. Where did that come from?
It was probably there all the time. I just didn't push it too hard. I was actually a bit too tentative at the start, and Rudy and Sam went past. At the end, I thought I'd see what he was made of. I thought I'd at least make him try for it.
Well, it was a fantastic job. Rudy, coming to you last. An excellent podium. It's tough to hold on to these two, isn't it?
Well, yeah, well, I've been lucky to get pulled by the professionals. I'm really enjoying this standing here on the podium. Absolutely.
It was a great drive.